Hello, it's Elysha, and today I am super excited because I am speaking with Annie Kip of Annie Kip Style. Now, you may already know Annie because she has an amazing podcast, and this is how I discovered her. Her podcast is called Style with Intention. And when I found this podcast, I was like, I need to know this woman. I need to know the brain behind this concept because my philosophy is so aligned with what she's doing. And she talks about the intersection of personal style and personal development. And on her website, she says that she's designing a life that lights you up because happy looks really, really good. I love this, Annie, and thank you so much for being here.
I'm pleased to be here, and I'm so happy we connected, Elysha. I feel like we are soul sisters in this.
I feel the same way. I feel like a woman who shares a very similar mission, and you work with living spaces. I know you do work with personal style. So please tell me exactly, what do you do in your work?
You know what? I have always been in the creative field. I started with Nike design. I moved over to Ralph Lauren and did merchandising for them. And I've always been involved in creating an experience for people, either for ourselves or for other people. And this sort of naturally led into some home decorating, and I built my business on that. And then I added some styling a few years ago and did that for like 8 years. And I'm not doing that anymore. I never have worked with women, Elysha. I think that's like higher grade than I can do. I mean, women have all kinds of things with clothes. I worked with men. But the thing that I think is the most important is that we can create experiences for ourselves by the choices we make. And that's sort of similar to what you talk about as well.
I mean, yes. Hello. This is exactly what I talk about. And I just love that you're so point blank about it with your style with intention. It's like, this is what it is. It's about the choices that we make. Let's think about those choices.
Yeah. It's not about just making it look like a magazine or just making it sort of traditionally cool or pretty or whatever. It's about intending something with what you choose. It's about picking things that make you feel a certain way inside, whether it's your clothes, as you know, or whether it's your environment in your home and what you surround yourself or your office. I think we say a lot about ourselves. I think, was it Rachel Zoe who said, style is a way of saying something complicated, a simple way of saying something complicated?
She said, and I believe this is a quote, style is about saying something about yourself without using any words. Not a direct quote, but something about communicating without using any words.
Yes. I think that we are making inbound toward ourselves messages and outbound messages. We are saying something to the world about ourselves with our choices. And I think it's a combination of the feedback we get when we are showing up authentically and the way we want to show up, as well as sort of how we experience ourselves when we're aligned with how we want to appear. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's making a lot of sense to me. And basically, I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I feel that with clothing, so I like to talk about dressing for a feeling. So you figure out how do I need to feel today? So for example, I'm going to come on, do a podcast or do a video with Annie today. So, who do I need to be? How do I want to feel? And then I can look at my clothes and I can assign attributes to those. Yeah. And then I could put those clothes on and we change the way we want to feel every day. So my question is then, how do we get in touch with the way that we want to feel and then express that in our living space when we're not changing it all the time?
I think that it is probably more function-based. So if you are somebody who is go, go, go all day and you need a place to kind of chill out at the end of the day, that informs the choices you make in your home. And it will inform different spaces in your home as well. I mean, maybe you have a little corner that's your corner and you stock it with a really cozy throw that doesn't make you itchy. And a coaster for your cup of tea when you come in to sit down with your book and a table that's the right height. and a lamp that works perfectly. So you design a space that supports the feeling you want to have when you go in there. And it's different in different spaces. You might want your kitchen to be sort of the family hub and have it feel a lot more lively and full of light and excitement. Or you might want it cozy and sort of down home. It depends on what you want to feel. And extending beyond that, people's offices are a great way to express themselves and also establish authority and legitimacy without saying a word. I think that's a really underrated thing. Usually only high-level executives get a budget for their offices, but regular guys can set up their offices in a way that supports their goals as well.
I love this because relating this to style and the work that I do, I was saying, you have a feeling that you want to achieve or attain for a day and you'll dress for that. But with your living space, it's more of your signature style. So it's more of the thread of the feeling that you want to have when you're in each space. So you set each space up accordingly based on, this is the office, this is where I need to have my authority and legitimacy, and this is the kitchen, this is where we share food. Mm-hmm. Well, my kitchen, I don't know. Which this brings me to the next question, because I get what you're saying about creating these spaces. What about when you live with other people who don't necessarily, I want my space to be calm. I love clean. I love order. I live with a man who wears a size 13 shoe, who just believes they can go there anywhere. Yeah. I live with a daughter who doesn't even use the drawers, and then a son who just doesn't, they don't put things away.
Yeah.
So, what would your advice be for people when we want to achieve this feeling, but we've got other people who we love?
Yeah.
They don't have the same feeling that they want to achieve.
Yeah, I can totally relate, Elysha. I have a daughter whose floor was constantly covered in her clothes. And it was like, try something on all morning long before she went to school. And I swear she picked up clothes from the floor to wear. They didn't think anything of that. And I know what it's like to live with the uncleaners. As soon as I get my house in order, my kids come along and things are out of order. The solution, I think, is to set up systems and to set up ways to make it easy for people to sort of comply. I mean, you don't ever want to make anybody feel uncomfortable in their home. You want your kids and your husband to feel like it's their home too, but you have the power to kind of make it easy for them. I recommend using hooks, not hangers, especially by a door when people are coming in. It is so much more work to put something on a hanger and put it in a closet than it is to just put it up on a hook. You can make it easier for people to help make the house a little bit more orderly if that matters to you. You can have a place where they can kind of kick off their shoes and just toss them into a bin, as opposed to having to place them in a cubby. I talk about minimal motions. So the more motions somebody has to make to do something to comply, the less likely they are to do it. A drawer is always going to be harder than a bin.
I completely can see that now, because David, my husband, we had this closet built for him, and it's just his shoes. So we're in New York City, so space is, we're challenged. So we hired these people who are the small space specialists, and he got this amazing closet for his shoes, yet he still doesn't. I'm not trying to go after my husband on this, but I understand from his perspective now what you're saying is because he's got to open the door, he's got to pick it and put them up. So it's like as little work as possible, make it as easy as possible for them, so that they can help me achieve my feeling of calm.
Right. I mean, it's always a compromise. The other thing, we lived in New York City when my kids were little. I've moved there with 3 kids and a dog. And it was a big shift from living in a normal house to living in a 2-bedroom apartment where the 3 kids shared a room, and, they still wanted their toys. I think rotating things, and we can do this as adults with our wardrobes, is kind of, especially if you're in a smaller space, rotating the things that you need at different times of the year, and literally putting away the summer shoes. Don't even make them an option. Put them far, far away as you can. We use the kitchen cabinets sometimes, like above the microwave, way up high, to store things we didn't actually need to use right away. And I think having fewer items that you are managing also makes it easier.
That is so smart. I agree with you about putting the stuff away when it's out of season.
Yeah.
And that is a very easy, that is very easy to do. So
it's easy, but it takes effort and organization. I felt like it did actually it was a project. So when my kids were little, and even now with my wardrobe, I try to do it. It's a project to sit down and say, I'm switching. Like, I'm really going to make some decisions and switch. And the upside of that was that it's super fun to see your stuff when you haven't seen it for a while. And it worked great with the kids and their toys, because it felt like they got new toys all of a sudden. So I don't know how you work with people on their seasonal shift, but I keep clothes in the attic, for instance, so that my closets, right now they're pretty cramped, but in general, I try to keep them lighter so that I can see things. So You can do the same thing with decor. You can have seasonal things that you use. If you're in an apartment in New York, you might want to just use natural things that you throw away when you're done with them, like lemons or pine boughs, and you toss them, just so you don't have to store anything. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I love that idea. And especially because we are in a transitional season at this point. So I think that is really helpful advice. One thing I want to ask you is going back to the feeling that people want to create in their space. For example, if I'm in my office right now and I want to have authority or legitimacy, or if I'm in my bedroom and I want it to be serene, how do you suggest that we know these things? How do we, not everybody is so in touch with the way that they want to feel. So then it's really challenging to express something if you're not in touch with it. So do you have any ideas or tips on how women specifically can get in touch with that?
Well, to your office specifically, and I know people don't always have a lot of flexibility, but for instance, when I was building this office for myself, I set a chair in different positions in the room to see how it felt. And I imagined a desk in front of me. And I sat facing this way, and I sat facing this way, and I sat facing that wall. And if you take the time to actually feel how it feels, you will feel a difference. And generally, it feels better facing out. My desk faces windows. It turned out, for a long time, I had it kind of here facing out in the middle of the room. But then I just needed more room. So now I face at least out windows. It's not ideal to have your back to a door. That in general will make people feel uncomfortable, but sometimes you can't avoid it. So often people will put a little mirror or something reflective in front of them, and that actually makes them feel better because they have a view of what's behind them. What else did you say? The bedroom. It's really personal. It's what makes you feel the way you want to feel in your space. And nobody can tell you that. A decorator can help you brainstorm and help you guide you to make some decisions. But you really have to feel it yourself. One way I work with clients is to start some house boards. And we share them, and they tell me what they like about the pictures that they're picking. So, if they're picking a light white bedspread over and over again, I'm like, so how do you feel about a white bedspread? It makes you feel, they can say, oh, I really just like how crisp it is. So you get clues if you can look at pictures together. And you can do that for yourself. You can just start a board and start seeing what your patterns are and what you are drawn to over and over again.
I think being able to answer the question why is so useful. Why do I like this? Why do I like this white bedspread? Why? If once you can get clear on the why behind the choice, then you can make that choice. Then you know what you're choosing, and it just becomes easier to go in that direction of what's pulling you. Yeah.
And often I think people get confused about it doesn't have to be a big, deep answer. It's just, it makes me feel refreshed, or it makes me feel calm. Or, the difference between a really colorful, exciting bedspread and a really calm bedspread. I don't want to feel excited at the end of the day. I want to feel calm. But my son, he likes a room that's kind of more exciting. So he has a more exciting bedspread. He hangs out in there. That's his space. I don't really hang out in my bedroom. I use it at the end of the day to feel calm. So the why can be, it's not necessarily why, it's what is it what does it make you feel? Like, why are you drawn to it is the question more, because of how it makes you feel.
Why are you drawn to it? So ask yourself, when you are feeling a pull towards something, when something catches your eye, why are you drawn to this, and what does it make you feel?
Yeah. And the other thing I want to add there is, if you're not used to paying attention to that, it can feel kind of confusing and like, I don't know, I have no idea. There are sparks we get. Sometimes you walk into a building and you're like, this just feels good. Stop yourself and try to ponder why for just a second. Is it because it's big and expansive? Is it because of all the windows and the light? Is it the green plants? Just take that extra beat to pay attention, and you'll build up that muscle of being able to discern what it is that makes you feel good. I call them whispers. They're little like sparks.
Oh, I love that. And I know exactly what you're talking about, because when I experience your whispers, for me, it shows up in my body, and there's a sense of expansion. I can get goosebumps, and it feels right and open. And I love what you said. If you walk into a space, can you pause for just a second? What is it that's going on here that I'm responding to so positively to? Is it the plants? You know?
Yeah. You might not know you're a plant person, You can also do it when you go to friends' houses. If you have friends that you love their house, you just think they did a great job, think about why. It's not just because of the people that are there. It's something to do with the way it's laid out, or the openness of it, or the coziness of it, or the colors spark you and whisper to you and say, you like this, you like this. Just pay attention.
Yes, because then once you have that self-awareness, then you're able to make the choices.
Yeah. And you would translate that then to the feeling. So, I realize I like spaces that are feel open. Say you've decided that every time you like a space, it's because it's open. Then you have that criteria for making other decisions about your space. And when you're looking at options for your space, you remember, I'm an open person. I like open. That's what I'm going for. So when you're like, oh, I kind of like that cozy room, you're like, wait a minute. No, I really feel better when I'm in an open space. Like, you can get drawn in different directions, but remember what your feeling was that you're going for.
Yes, and I think that it would be really helpful at this point also. This is when a Pinterest board, or keeping a record of those things that you like, so that you can go back and refer to and add to.
Yeah. Houzz lets you do idea books, I guess they're called. So you can do idea books in Houzz, which is like a home decorating site where you can pin things and pictures of rooms. And so if you're doing home decorating, Houzz is a great place to get some ideas. And then you can pin those to a Pinterest board as well.
Okay. I'm not familiar with Houzz. So
it's Houzz.
Oh, Houzz. Okay. I am familiar with Houzz. I didn't know they have this kind of service.
They have the idea boards. Anybody can do it, and you can share them. I will set them up and share them with my clients, so that we can then have a conversation. And I say, write notes about what you like, because, you don't love everything every time, but you can say, I really like the nail heads on this, or I really like that glass lamp. And then sometimes we'll take those and we'll create a lighting board over on Pinterest and have all the lighting things that somebody likes, so that we can sort of really narrow down what people are drawn to.
I just love the possibility that there is here. And I remember on one of your podcasts I was listening to, you said something like, let your home be a reflection of who you are, not what you're settling for.
Yes, it's so true. It's okay to be aspirational in your home. It's okay to, even if you wear sweats all the time, that's not really who you are. You're not, you're more than that inside. Let your heart be drawn to the beautiful things in the world, and bring those into your own home. When people say, I want to just be me, you're bigger than, one day where you're wearing one thing. As you know, we are so multifaceted. Think about the best that you feel when you feel your most up, when you feel your most calm, when you feel your most sort of in charge and on top of the world, sort of like a great outfit. You want to create a home that makes you feel like that.
So like a great outfit, also on the flip side, we settle into these ruts. Maybe it's the sweatpants all the time, and I have this theory about ruts that you can wear sweatpants every day, but it's when you're feeling powerless and yet you have no options.
Yes, I love that you say that. That really resonated with me. It's the feeling of being settling or being stuck or not knowing what to do, that when you're making a choice from that standpoint, you're not in your best space. Your happy's not going to look very good on you right there. That's not happy.
Because you're feeling limited. You're being held back.
Yeah. It's not expansive. Yeah.
It's not expansive. But what happens is these style ruts, this feeling of powerless, it becomes unconscious to a lot of people. So they get so into it, deep into this rut, that they don't even know that it's happening. And I think this happens in the home as well, where you're now in this autopilot, and it's kind of a low energy place. Yeah. So what are your suggestions when this happens in your home, when you're being driven by these low energy choices and it's gone into your subconscious?
Yeah, it happens to us all. I have fire alarms that I took down when they were buzzing from burning food once, and they're still not back up, and I don't even notice them anymore. We get used to what we are kind of conditioned to, and you can not notice for a long time that you've just left something in the corner and it's just sitting there. So I would say contrast is the way to get to what really matters to you when you're not in your space and you're out in the world and you're noticing things that the whispers are telling you make you happy. That's a place to then bring it home and say, am I living this way? Because I can have that feeling. It's available. You can conjure that feeling and create it in your own home. It doesn't have to cost a ton of money. It doesn't have to be a big project, but just noticing it is the hardest part, as you were saying. I would say, notice the contrast, how you feel in other places. And when you feel good, really good, look for those and listen for those little whispers that tell you what to do with that. Yeah. And because you can do it one thing at a time.
Because the smoke alarm, what you were saying is you had disassembled it, and I know exactly what you're talking about, because mine goes off cooking, and it just adds to the stress.
I hate those stupid things. Yeah.
Talk about adding fuel to the fire, literally.
Yeah, I know. I'm a little irresponsible.
So you're saying so then you've disassembled it or took the battery out, and then what happens is now months have gone by and you've just completely forgotten, and now you're just living with this it's not complete. It's this incomplete. Right. So notice when you're somewhere else how you're feeling when you're feeling more whole and feeling more complete, and then you can come back home and then you will become more aware and be like, oh now put the batteries back in.
Yeah, I mean, it's a silly thing, like a battery powered smoke alarm isn't a decorating item, but if you go away to someone's house and you're like, oh, it's so together, it's so calm and peaceful and everything's sort of in its place. You come home and you think to yourself, is my house that way? And you look around, you might notice that there are wires coming out of your ceiling from your smoke alarm. And it has an unconscious, subconscious effect on us that once you clear it up, you don't have to think about it anymore. Your subconscious is done with it. So it's more than just picking pretty things. It's creating the feeling in your space that really works for you.
Annie, I love this so much, and I see that you have so much to offer people, and I know that you have your work with living spaces, helping people with be intentional with their living spaces, is expanded into coaching, and I can see how this would be so beneficial for so many people. So can you tell me a little bit about that and how you got there?
Yeah, sure. It really naturally grew out of my work, and because I'm a decorator who really deals with the intentions that we set with our spaces, the decorating comes really naturally to me, and I've found that the setting and the intentions is something that people really need help with, and it is the thing that is different, I guess, about my work, and I really love it. I love when there is that richness to doing what could be just a decorating project that is sort of superficial. This is deeper stuff. This is really paying attention to what it is that lights you up, and that translates into your life. And you know that, Elysha. You know how important it is to make these conscious choices. So the decorating sort of led to the coaching, and I went through training, and I'm loving it. I am loving using the choices people make about their spaces as a tool to help people feel the way they want to feel. So it goes both ways.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. Yeah.
Yeah, because your home, your outfit, it really is a reflection of what's going on inside. So it's like if your home or your outfit is the stage, then like backstage is like all the stuff that's going on.
All that stuff in your head. Yeah.
And it's also controlling what you're putting out there. So
it is. It is. I keep thinking it's this inbound and outbound messaging, and it's a cycle. You just keep getting feedback. It's a feedback loop, I guess. You know, you are feeling crappy, you wear something crappy, you get a crappy response from the barista at Starbucks, you feel crappy, you wear your crappy stuff. I mean, it just keeps going. Or you feel pretty good. You put on your, outfit, you have your home set up the way you want to feel, go out into the world, you're feeling terrific, you're smiling at people, the barista smiles back, and you get this positive feedback loop. So I think it all matters. You can't just have one without the other.
It's all connected.
It's all connected.
Yes.
Yeah.
Annie, thank you so much. And I know that people are going to want to find you on social media, on your website. So can you just share where people can come get in touch with you?
I am Annie Kip Style everywhere. I am anniekipstyle.com, and you can download a great freebie there that helps you walk through the steps to creating a room that makes you feel the way you want to feel. It's sort of, I call it a quick start workbook, and it helps you identify the feelings you want, figure out how to pick the things that will make you feel that way, how to lay out a room. I can't remember out. It's like kind of the quick start to doing a room if you're working on a project. You can always also contact me. I'm happy to answer questions. And I'm on Instagram at Annie Kip Style. So, and Facebook too, I guess. So feel free to reach out any way you want.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Annie. I really appreciate you being here today. And thank you for watching. And we will... Don't forget to give this video a quick like and a thumbs up, and share it, because let's share the love of what we spoke about today, of getting intentional with your style and with your living space. So I'll be back here next week with a brand new video. I'll see you then. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.